Lastly, Boris Johnson says the UK has passed the peak of the coronavirus pandemic. Speaking at his first press conference since recovering from COVID-19, the British Prime Minister said a plan to ease restrictions will be confirmed next week. 26,711 people have now died in the UK, with 674 more deaths in the last 24 hours. Boris Johnson says there will be 5 key tests before lockdown restrictions can be eased.
That we can continue to protect the NHS and its ability to cope. We must see a sustained fall in deaths. We must be sure that the infection rate is falling. We've got to overcome logistical challenges on testing and PPE, and this is the most important. The measures we take do not risk a second spike.
And that's all for now. We'll have news again at 8.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. Need to renew your AA home insurance? Go to the aa.ie/myAA.
Mainly dry tonight as showers die off and lowest temperatures of 2 to 5 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, it's Thursdays Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 10 o'clock. Hope you're all keeping well. We got a busy show ahead. It's a big night for John Giles. He is picking his all-time Leeds United 11. Will he pick himself? Well, all will be revealed between now and 8 o'clock. We shall see, we shall see. I suspect, listen, I think if you look at any all-time Leeds United 11, John Giles is there, but are we going to have a 12-man Leeds United team? 53106 is the text number. Classic Game Club coming your way on the football show. Myself, Chair and Owen looked back on the Republic of Ireland against England. It's being shown tomorrow night on TG Cahir, and if you're having a quiet, romantic Friday night in, well, I'm not sure if this is quite what I would recommend. It is not the greatest game of football we've ever seen, despite all the nostalgia and brilliance that goes along with it. And between 8 and 9, as part of the Department of Justice Still Here campaign, we're going to have a special panel on domestic abuse, so that coming your way as well a little bit later on. Richie McCormack is with us. How are you keeping?
Hey Nathan, you well?
I'm hanging on in there. So what do you think? John Giles, does he put himself in his all-time Leeds 11?
I'll be honest with you, I'm going to say it's an emphatic no from me. Knowing John, I think he's way too modest to include himself in there, especially when you consider the pantheon of fantastic midfielders that club has had as well. I'm not saying that any of them are close to John Giles' level, but I'm saying from John's point of view, his modesty coupled with the riches that Leeds have had over the course of the last 50 years in midfields means that someone like a David Batty or a Gary McAllister or a Gordon Strachan may actually have a hope of partnering Billy Bremner in the centre of John's midfield. Don't hold me to it, but it's just the way I'm seeing things going.
So what do I do in this situation? Do I insist that he puts himself in his midfield? I presume Billy Bremner is going to be in there. Do I insist that we have their greatest ever midfield of Giles and Bremner, and we have this awkward standoff on the radio for 10 minutes where he refuses to accept his position?
It's something that Danny Baker used to call betting without the Beatles. If he had like a discussion about music, he used to have to set the Beatles to one side and just go, all right, well, they just forget them for a moment, because clearly they're head and shoulders above everybody else in Danny's mind. So you'd have to do something similar, saying betting without Gilesy here. We're going to pick the non-John Giles team, and then I think it's incumbent upon you then to perhaps make the substitution at the end and decide who of John's 11 would have to step out. And then you can just disrespect him in a whole new way and get somebody else to drop out for Giles to slot into midfield.
Right. I watched a terrible movie the other night about the Beatles. It's a new movie, Yesterday.
Yeah, I've avoided that like the plague. It looks terrible.
For some reason I thought it was going to be okay. I thought it wasn't the worst idea in the world. Dear God, it's one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
Well, actually, yeah, for those who don't know, it basically extrapolates upon that notion that you bet without the Beatles, and that this guy is in a world where Beatles songs don't exist apart from in his own head. So essentially he is writing their entire back catalogue and becomes an incredibly successful human being based off the back of this, as you would, because the back catalogue is incredible. But the film, as soon as I saw the words Richard Curtis and the actual premise about the film, I ran a mile from it, I have to say.
The highlight is a sing-song after a Ed Sheeran concert. So a sign that he's making it is that Ed Sheeran recognises his talent and invites him to come and support him. I think it's at like a Wembley Stadium gig. And they're having a sing-off afterwards, and Ed Sheeran challenges him to write a song in 10 minutes and see which of their songs will be better. And Ed Sheeran comes back with his song, and then this guy writes While My Guitar Gently Weeps. And Ed Sheeran bows down and goes, yes, I think we have to accept you're the greatest songwriter who's ever lived.
I think
It's just so
Danny
bad I couldn't
Boyle
switch it off, though.
Wasn't Danny Boyle involved in this as well? Am I wrong in putting that forward?
God,
I think
I hope
Danny
not.
Boyle might have been the director. I genuinely think he was. In that somehow this is a mishmash of the worlds of Richard Curtis and Danny Boyle, the man who once gave us Trainspotting, also giving us Beatles sing-along movies with Ed Sheeran as a guest star.
Anyway, no matter how bad things get during this lockdown, how bored you get, do not watch this movie. That is my only recommendation.
Okay.
So, a bit of controversy coming again on Off the Ball tomorrow. The latest Mount Rushmore, Westmeath. Adrian Barry and Conor Moore are going to choose the 4. They've got John Aldridge on the shortlist because he has Galway and Westmeath roots. I was making the point yesterday that Westmeath is a bit of a, it's a bit of a vampire sucking on the blood of all the more successful counties around it, such as Galway, Roscommon, Offaly, Meath, and that all of those counties have successful sports people, and Westmeath kind of claims some of them as their own.
Example?
Robbie Henshaw's a Connacht man, really, isn't he?
Isn't he from Athlone?
Yeah. Which
Or
part
the
of
environs?
Come on.
He's
Come
from
on.
West,
And now they're claiming
Westmeath.
John Aldridge.
Well, you see, you
His
claimed
great
Kilban.
grandmother was from Athlone.
You claimed Kilban, so for Mayo, so it's kind of swings
totally
on
different.
that front.
It's totally different.
It's. I think you'll find it's.
Has John Aldridge
pretty
ever
much-
been to Westmeath?
I'd imagine he has. I think you'll find it's the exact same premise as you picking Kilban for Mayo, which was farcical then.
No.
Is farcical now, and I'm not having Aldridge for Westmeath either. John Joe Nevin better be on there, is he?
John Joe Nevin is on the shortlist. Joe Ward is on the shortlist as well. No shortage of boxing talent. Desi Dolan, I think a shoe-in for a lot of people.
Well, does his appearance on what's it called, Room to Improve, rule him out? Does reality TV impinge upon your ability to go on Mount Rushmore?
Well, it didn't impinge on Kilban's ability.
Well, it should have done.
Robbie Henshaw nailed on.
Yes, I'd be interested to see how far back we go at Westmeath, because a lot of the success seems to be born, even the names you're throwing at us there, and that we're kind of bandying about back and forward. Basically, you're going back as far as, in terms of Irish success, 86 for Aldridge's first Irish cap. So going back to the 70s, 60s, who knows, maybe even earlier into Irish sporting lore, who from West sticking?
Turlock O'Connor won the league with Athlone twice.
Good shout.
I think probably deserves to be just ahead of John Aldridge on that particular list. Mark Rowan, obviously, from the Paralympics. And then you have the racing side of it. Michael Eddie O'Leary.
Okay.
Like, Aidan O'Brien didn't get a look in somehow.
No.
In Wexford.
You see, if Aidan O'Brien, Aidan O'Brien was harshly done by, incredibly so, with the Wexford Mount Rushmore. So there's absolutely no way the O'Learys.
No, well, that's like putting JP McManus in Limerick.
It had its merits to a degree, but if you're ignoring O'Brien, I'm not going to go with somebody who basically just owns the land on which the trainers work. That's just stupid.
That's fair enough.
You can't put a landlord on a Mount Rushmore. It just doesn't work.
It's on tomorrow morning from 7:30 on OTB AM. What you got news-wise for us, Richie?
We shall start with the Ray Walker story. The GAA have defended their anti-doping education programme. The association, along with Sport Ireland, today confirmed that the Carlow footballer Ray Walker won't contest his 4-year ban. The 35-year-old tested positive for the banned substance meldonium in an out-of-competition test in February. He's the first Irish athlete to ever do so. Walker said he had not received any anti-doping education between his return to the Carlow panel in November to the time of his positive test. But the GAA say 36 players in the Carlow panel completed anti-doping training last year and the same amount this year.
It is those little gaps where players come in late or players aren't around at certain times that maybe there's still some answers. And hopefully, we asked the GAA to come on tonight. There wasn't anybody available to come on the show, but hopefully we'll get to talk to them over the coming days and weeks. And we've had a lot of coverage of this over the last sort of 48 hours since we broke the news that it was Ray Walker, the Carlow footballer, who was the player who was found guilty with meldonium. And a lot of coverage with Eamon McGee was very good yesterday morning. And we'll bring you some of Mickey Quinn, the Longford footballer, who's also a GPA rep. He was on this morning's OTBM, so we'll bring it out between 8 and 9.
Interesting as well that Sport Ireland let drop that Walker actually did intend to appeal as recently as April 21st, but rescinded that appeal with his statements the other night as well. On to France, a pretty eventful day there today. Paris Saint-Germain have officially been named Ligue 1 champions for this season. The French League's board of directors have voted to settle the standings based on a points per game played ratio, I should say. Earlier, it was decided to end the season after the French Prime Minister banned all team sports until August. Lorient and Lens will be promoted with Amiens and Toulouse relegated. And in the past half hour, Lyon have announced that they will be taking legal action against the decision. They finished 7th in the table as it stands. Will miss out on Europa League football. They're still in the Champions League, but their only route back to European football next season will be to win this season's Champions League, and that would appear unlikely.
Yeah, these are the exact same issues the Premier League are going to face if they end up scrapping it. In many ways, giving Liverpool the title is the easiest decision they face. It's the relegation, Champions League, Europa League places where teams are going to lose out on substantial amounts of money that are going to cause them huge legal issues. And
there's no way of you can go for the points per game played thing, but there's no way of really settling that to any great satisfaction of anybody, particularly when you get into the promotion relegation in the Premier League, and the promotion more so, because you've got 6 teams who are essentially battling it out in the Championship for promotion. How do you decide beyond Leeds and West Brom who's the third team to go up? You can't just pick it on a games points per games played when you're essentially angling your season towards finishing in the top 6. It's going to be a farcical situation that the Championship, I think, are going to have to arrive at. But that's the one I'm envisaging happening. The Premier League, I can imagine finishing. The Championship is going to be another story.
Yeah, but like points per game, it just can't work, because like you look at how dominant Liverpool have been all season, and the teams they've played and that Manchester City have played are at a massive disadvantage against the teams that haven't played them so far, because they haven't taken any points from them. So
the French issue is a clear one, because Paris Saint-Germain, I think, were 12 points clear before the league was actually closed. It was fait accompli that they were going to win it. Similarly with Liverpool, but there's a few more variables involved in the Premier League that just won't make anybody happy if the Premier League go down that route.
And Nils, run us through quickly.
Yeah, staying in France, Bordeaux-Bègles will not ask to be crowned French top 14 champions. They led the table by 8 points with 9 games remaining of the regular season before rugby was suspended there. The French Rugby League today agreed to end the season, again with team sport banned until later in the year. While the Premier League appears to be edging closer to a return, funnily enough, the Telegraph claimed this afternoon that Chelsea have requested all of their players currently overseas to return to London by Sunday. It's believed the Premier League have told clubs to expect to be back in full training by May 18th for a possible resumption on June 8th. Clubs will meet again tomorrow to discuss a way back. Brighton's Glenn Murray has described as farcical the protocols surrounding the Premier League's possible return. Players wearing masks will be discussed at that meeting of top flight clubs, and Murray has added that football should only return once it's safe to do so.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody can agree on that. We're almost out of time. John Giles is coming up shortly. 1 or 2 more stories?
Liverpool have condemned the comments of the city's mayor that restarting the Premier League season could create a farcical situation. Joe Anderson's worried that fans would congregate outside Anfield if a first title in 30 years was won, risking the spread of the coronavirus. Liverpool say there's a lack of evidence to support Mayor Anderson's claims, and that they're working with fans groups to maintain social distancing rules. While La Liga players are to be tested for coronavirus coming from Monday, Spain's health ministry has given the green light to the league's plans for a return to action. Following testing, players would then be allowed to return to training, with a June resumption of the league, the hope of the La Liga president, Javier Tebas.
All right, good stuff. Mind yourself, Richie. We'll talk to you again next week. So the plan for the evening, after 9 o'clock, Classic Game Club, we're going to be looking back on Republic of Ireland against England from Italia 90. We've got a special panel on domestic abuse coming up after 8 o'clock. But next, it is John Giles who'll be picking his all-time Leeds United 11.
Get in there. That's what I pay you for.
I think conceit and arrogance is